Well, good morning, YouTube. It is a very wet and rainy day out. It's been actually a couple of wet days here. Very cold, and I got my duster on. It's rainproof, and this hat kind of keeps the rain from getting all over my glasses. But behind me is where the cows are feeding on some hay that I unrolled, and I feel kind of sorry for them. So I'm going to put out a little bit of protein range cubes. I'm going to put some out on top of the hay that they're feeding on, just to kind of give them a little bit of boost, because they sure need it. The only way they're really able to stay warm in the wintertime is by, you know, if they got a coat of fur, that helps, but by eating it helps their metabolism. So I'm gonna give them a little bit of a boost with some extra protein this morning. Oh, you poor girl. Oh, baby. Got the cows munching on some protein. That should help them a little bit today. Here you can see where I unrolled this hay bale. They touched it a little bit the first day, but they saved some for today, which I'm glad. I don't have to try to get the tractor out in all this mud. They can just munch on it. I've noticed that they are cleaning up the unrolled hay pretty well. They'll leave it pretty much down to nothing by the time they get finished with this. So you can see I did one pass through here up to where the cows are, and then it kind of came back around. You can see about where my finger is pointing, they've already cleaned that area up. That's about what it looks like when they get finished with it. This second line here, pretty sparse, and that's about what they leave. It's like the bull just figured out what's going on and joined the group. I'm glad some of the mamas were able to get some of that protein before he realized what was happening. I'd rather the mamas get the protein than him. I'm walking over here to the back of the pond. I want to take a look at that spillway project that I worked on in a previous video. This pond is getting pretty full. We've had about 5 inches of rain these past 2 days, so I'm curious if we're running over my spillway yet and how it's doing. Looks like we're right to it. See how the grass is growing in real nice. I seeded all this with Bermuda, but it looks like we're right to the spillway almost. Probably another half an inch of rain or so will push it over the edge and have it spilling out. But I think this is gonna work well. These rocks will be serve good as riprap as it comes down, and hopefully it won't erode the pond bait quite so bad. Well, it's the next day and we ended up getting that other half inch of rain, and looking back here at the spillway, and it looks like the ripple rocks did their job. I could see where the water was overflowing over in here, so I'm glad I put grass seed down because that definitely helped hold the dirt in place. But I could see down in amongst those rocks. I don't know if you can make it out, but the water is still trickling through these rocks, so they're doing their job, and I don't see any big washout like I had in the past, so this was a successful project. I just fed the cows some hay. I went ahead and used the hay rings this time because the ground is just so muddy from the rains yesterday. I didn't want to unroll it and have the weight of the tractor compressing the ground, compacting the ground, so I just went with hay rings this time. One thing I did want to note is with all the rain that we got, I mentioned it was about 5 inches, at least that's what I saw in the forecast, but we did get a lot of rain. The pond went from being a little low to being overflowing, so we got a good bit of rain these past 2 days, and I just fed the cows the hay, and my tractor is not muddy. That's the nice thing about this sandy soil. It's not as fertile as the black loam soil and other types of soils. It does grow grass pretty well, but not as abundantly as some of that blackland prairie. But the nice thing about it is the very next day after a rain, I can come out on my tractor or walk around and I just have a little bit of mud on my boots, but I'm not sinking down in it. Back when I was a teenager in the early 90s, my grandfather had a farm in this same county that I'm in now. He actually had soil that was not like this. It was the black gumbo soil. And it had been raining just like this and got real muddy on his place. And he went out to work on his fences, and one of his fences was down. And as he worked, he said his feet were sinking down into that soil more and more. And by the time he got done with the spot he was working on, he went to get up out of the ground, you know, step up out and go do something else. And his leg stayed put while his rest of his body moved, and it broke his leg down near the ankle in like 3 or 4 places. And he had to have pins, and I'm not sure what all else they put in his leg, but he was bedridden pretty much for at least 6 months, and then he never walked right after that. And it just kind of goes to tell how the different soil types can be a challenge on a farm. I'm grateful, especially during the winter time like this, that I do have the sandy soil. Like I said, it's not quite as fertile. It doesn't grow as much grass for the cows. I can't support as many head on my property as he could per acre, but there's trade-offs to everything. So just something I wanted to share.